and welcome to my channel about living in and moving to Denver, Colorado. Today, we're talking about reasons not to move to Denver, and if you are, just be prepared for some of these negative things. Let's get into it. Hey, I'm Katie Martineau, also known as the Real Estate Gal. If this is your first time tuning into my channel, welcome. I cover all things about the Denver Metro, whether it be talking about certain neighborhoods, events going on around town, things to check out, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So this is one of those bad type of videos of the negative things of why you wouldn't want to move to Denver, Colorado. So if you want to know more, you got to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you get notified every time I release a video, which is twice a week. And as mentioned, my nickname is Katie the Real Estate Gal. So if you need help with buying, selling, or anything in between, I'm your gal, would love to help you. So I have my contact information below. Please reach out, whichever is best for you. Call, text, or email. So as you know, Denver is a very popular place to live, including the entire state of Colorado. The Rocky Mountains are what bring people here, and the environment, the sun, all of the outdoors activities are why people stay here or are moving here. Now, with all of the people that are moving here comes traffic issues, traffic congestion. So Denver essentially erupted, and the city streets were not ready for it. So downtown Denver Metro can be a nightmare if you're trying to go from point A to point B and you have to cut through downtown. It's pretty unavoidable. And actually, there's one of the radio stations that I listen to that jokes that I-70 is one of the largest parking lots that we have in Colorado. When helping people on choosing which location would be best if they are moving here or relocating, is that if you work in, let's say, up north a little bit, maybe Erie, Thornton, Broomfield, or Boulder, you should probably live in that area because traffic can be so bad. The Denver Tech Center, Castle Rock, Larkspur, and Colorado Springs are on the southern part. So if you're living above the Denver metro area and you have to commute every day, you're gonna have to find some podcasts to listen to or talk radio because traffic can be a nightmare. Now, there's always road construction going on to try to alleviate this problem. So luckily, Denver is aware that the traffic is pretty bad. And then in some of the metro districts or the newly planned communities, you can tell that the roads are a lot wider. There's a lot more space. Locations such as Broomfield, Erie, a lot of those new build communities where they're more so developing the area, they are planning for that. And so you can probably expect some of the taxes to be higher. And sometimes, depending on which roadway you're going, there are toll roads, such as 470, which loops around the entire Denver Metro. So I would definitely recommend one of those passes that is scanned when you drive through the toll road instead of paying with cash and stopping, or getting your license plate scanned, which the license plate scan you can absolutely do if you are visiting. But if you live here and you are a frequent traveler on that 470 road, I'd recommend that scannable pass because you do save a couple bucks every time you drive it. Now, some of the outer regions of the Denver Metro, such as Parker, Castle Rock, Highlands Ranch, you can absolutely tell that the roads are a lot wider. There's a lot more space. Things are spread out. Whoever designed these communities definitely kept that in mind, that they're bringing in a lot of people and you need more room for roadways. So that's talking about Denver Metro area. Now, another area to note in traffic is the mountains. The mountains are extremely popular and they bring in tourists all year round. So there's a ton of summer activities to do, as well as, of course, winter activities. So I-70 roadway gets very congested, especially after the mountains close on Saturday evenings and Sunday evenings, or I should say afternoon, because typically last run is about 4 p.m. You can expect to sit in a lot of traffic. If you came for the weekend in the mountains and you leave halfway through the day, you're going to be in a much better position to get back to the Denver Metro than you would be if you waited until after last run, because that's when everybody plans to drive home. There's an app called the CDOT app that can let you know what traffic is looking like. Now, one of the things as well is if there is an accident on the highway, best of luck to you. You're going to be sitting for a while, and they'll actually give you a ticket if you get in an accident and you don't have an all-wheel drive car or the correct style style of tires and you get into an accident, you can be given a ticket because you're unprepared and you are creating havoc for the rest of the people that are behind you because a car accident happened. Now, creating roadways to get to the mountains is a little bit more challenging for obvious reasons because you're on the side of the mountains. So it's super important to pay attention while you're driving. Do not multitask. Any text message and phone call can wait. And you actually do lose service about 3/4 of the way through, depending of course where you're going in the mountains, but the service can be a little bit spotty as well. So put your phone down, focus on the road, and have a great time when you're visiting. Just be prepared for traffic. The second reason to be prepared for in the state of Colorado is the weather is super duper unpredictable.
Yay!
Summer's here!
Awesome! Best summer ever!
Let's stay friends!
You can literally hit all 4 seasons in one day, and I mean snowing to 80-degree hot weather. It is so bizarre. I joke that the weather is bipolar. It can't decide what it's doing some days. On July 4th of 2021, I was out in Wash Park playing volleyball with some friends, getting sunburnt, and I had to run home to change, and it started to hail. It was the weirdest weather that you could possibly imagine. And then it cleared up so that we could watch the fireworks. It was bizarre. So you always got to be prepared. Always keep a jacket in your car, hydration, snacks, different types of shoes. Some of the other really random weather conditions would be the bomb cyclone that we had, and it snowed about 12 inches in 12 hours. It came out of nowhere. Luckily, the weather forecasters gave us an update, and so people were not going into school, not going into work, and thank goodness that we didn't do that because the roads were nightmare land. I do recall 2 other false warnings that we were supposed to get a ton of snow and then literally nothing came. So like I said, be prepared for the worst and hope for the best. We'll get random days of fog. We'll get super duper hot, dry heat in the summer. If you're walking on the sidewalk and you walk in shade and then you walk into the sun, I swear it feels like a 10-degree difference. We'll also get massive downpours as well as super high winds. And there was a meme I saw once when we were experiencing a ton of wind where you're just thinking like, is this tree gonna come out of the ground because the wind is so strong? And the meme said, this is Colorado's largest yard swap, which there was a trampoline that went from one neighbor's yard to the other, as well as a ton of different patio furniture was just all over the place. And then with high winds, you can expect wildfires to spread a lot quicker as well. So there was a fire that was called the Marshall Fire. Unfortunately, December 30th of last year, which was 2022, it took out over 1,000 homes. And it was, I believe, Colorado's largest fire. Absolutely devastating. That was up in Superior, which is halfway between the Denver Metro and Boulder. And then they just discovered that there were 2 sources for the fire that happened. And unfortunately, the really high winds helped it spread like crazy. Colorado gets super dry, or it is actually dry, but it gets super dry in the summer as well. So if one fire starts, it can just keep spreading and spreading and spreading. This year, there were 91 fires that were happening in Canada, and we had fog everywhere, and it was actually smoke from the Canada fires. A couple of years ago, we had 4 Colorado forest fires, and it's just gnarly of how much they spread and how fast they spread. So to sum up, the weather is completely unpredictable. You really have to be prepared that all of these things could happen in a year or maybe over the course of 5 years. So I've been here for 5.5 years and I've experienced every single thing on this list. Moving on to altitude and health concerns, Denver is known as the Mile High City because we are 5,280 feet above sea level. The air is a little bit thinner. It takes people time to acclimate. Sometimes it can take a month or 2. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer depending on how your health is currently. And I know some people that just couldn't deal with the altitude and so they moved. Of course, Denver has a ton of residents, so a lot of people have acclimated and are doing just fine, but it's something to be aware of. When I visited 3 weekends before I moved here, every time I went back to sea level, I was living in Seattle at the time, I would get bloody noses after I got back. Granted, I was only visiting for a couple days, but I could tell a difference between the different levels of elevation. Also with the elevation, you need to hydrate. You need to drink so much more water than you think you actually do need to. So I always carry the liquid IV sticks Let me show you. I have them right here. So it's essentially like 3 bottles of water all included in one, and there's also electrolytes with this. And you need to put lotion on. Your skin will chafe and completely dry out. Another thing is hair. My hair doesn't get much longer than this, and it has to do with the elevation, because when I was living in Minnesota, which is where I'm originally from, as well as Seattle, my hair would get a couple inches longer than this, and it's just something I have to deal with in Colorado. Now, of course, this isn't for everyone. Some people acclimate completely well, or some people were born here and they don't even notice a difference. Now, a couple other things with health and altitude is that if you are coming to visit, you're most likely coming from sea level. So give yourself a little bit of time to acclimate to the Denver elevation. Then, if you're going to the mountains, that's a pretty significant jump if you just come from sea level to 10,000 feet or higher. So my recommendation would be to come to Denver, stay a night or two, and then go to the mountains to give your body time. Now, of course, we're talking about all the negatives of Denver and Colorado. So we're gonna get into some horror stories. There was a gal from Ohio that came into Denver, immediately went straight to the mountains, wasn't hydrating, wasn't taking care of her body, wasn't listening to her body, and she ended up getting altitude sickness, which is a real thing, and she ended up passing away, unfortunately. I don't know many details other than that, but I know that she was in the mountains when she was found, and of course, that's a freak accident. It doesn't happen terribly often, but listen to your body and listen to my tips. Another thing with altitude is ozone alerts. So during the summer months, June, July, and August, it can get extremely, extremely dry. There's a lot of hot, stagnant air, so we'll get ozone alerts that they'll put on the big light up signs when you're driving on the highway, or they'll say it on the news to try to avoid exercising outdoors, as well as don't mow your lawn between certain times of the day. I hate those alerts, but we are a mile closer to the sun, so it does make sense. So just watch out for those news updates, or if you don't watch the news, then pay attention while you're driving on the highway, because they do alert you as you're traveling from point A to point B. All right, now with all this talk about heat, we also have limited water in Colorado. Now you'd think all of the runoff and the snow that melts from the mountains comes down and it's great drinking water. It's just very limited. So a lot of the bodies of water that are in the Denver metro area are reservoirs. They are man-made. Now people have a great time doing water sports, but some people are a little bit bitter because it's not natural. So Cherry Creek Reservoir and Chatfield Reservoir are 2 super popular areas to go where you can go boating, camping, fishing, paddleboards, non-motorized sports, as well as motorized. There are some people that get a little bit bitter because it's a controlled environment. Another thing to note with water is there are certain times during the day in the summer months when you can water your lawn. Because it gets hot and dry, if you were to water your lawn at, let's say, 2 p.m. or 3 p.m., the water might not even get to the roots of the grass because the water just evaporates immediately. So watering your lawn or turning your sprinklers on first thing in the morning or right before the sun goes down or at night is the best time to water your lawn during those months. A lot of people decide to do xeriscaping to save on the water because their grass is gonna die halfway through the summer anyway. So there's xeriscaping, which is rocks, stones, mulch, whatever they wanna do. Some people do some really intricate designs for their front yards and backyards, and it requires very little maintenance and of course saves on your water bill. And speaking of home ownership or wherever you live, home prices in the state of Colorado have skyrocketed. Specifically in Denver Metro, we are on an average price point of over $600,000 for a single family home. Prices have absolutely increased over the years. Appreciation has been absolutely insane. Colorado's a great place to live, and so a lot of people want to move here. We had 70 to 80,000 people move here last year alone, despite the high prices. And then we go into playing a game of supply and demand. We are in Q2 of 2023 if you're watching this video any other time of when I'm actually recording it, and we have a severe shortage of homes on the market. It's hovering around 4,000 homes, and we should have about 25,000 homes on the market to create a balanced market. So there is absolutely an inventory shortage, which is another reason why the brand new builds and communities are still full steam ahead. They have to accommodate all the people that are moving here. I'm not going to get too far into numbers when it comes to house prices because it completely depends on the zip zip code that you're looking in, the neighborhood, the city. I will pop up a heat map so you can see if you're looking in Inglewood versus Littleton versus Parker, the prices are completely different, as well as demand, days on market. So it gets very confusing when you do say average price point because it really depends on where you're looking. Now, if you're curious on a certain neighborhood or city, please reach out to me with my contact information and I can pull those statistics for you and talk more about what we're seeing in that specific area. And then a little bit of a side note is to be cautious when national news is giving statistics on the housing market, because California pricing is going to be way different than Mississippi pricing or Idaho. It really depends specifically on the neighborhood and city that you're looking at. All right, the last thing to be aware of in the state of Colorado is that weed is legal. They legalized weed here. We were the first state in 2012, and so we have a lot of dispensaries and weed stores around. I believe you can grow 6 plants per person or 12 per household, and that also works its way into when you're looking for homes. If someone is growing weed, totally fine, you do you. But with that plant, it emits a distinct smell that the next homeowner that might be purchasing that home or looking at the home to purchase might have a sensitivity to, or that might bother them. So we have mediation companies that specialize in getting rid of those types of smells. Smoke smells, weed smells. They work on meth houses, houses that have black mold, all sorts of different issues that might arise in looking at a home that was not well kept. So if this is something that bothers you, just be aware that there's a lot of stores that could bring in undesirable patrons, but really that could be applied to really anything, like fast food joints or shopping malls. It's really based off of preference. I hope you found this video helpful with things to be aware of before moving to Colorado. Some of them not as desirable as the next, but it's better to be prepared so that you know what you're getting yourself into. So if you are moving here, you decide that it is a good move because you did the research ahead of time. And if you are looking to relocate, I would absolutely love to help you. So here is my contact information below. Call, text, or email. I would love to be a resource for you. And maybe we'll have a little bit of a positive note on the next video. We'll see you then.